At 0317, the night camera in Mirror Cell 2 caught a janitor stopping mid-swipe. He stood under the ceiling light with a mop in one hand and a bucket in the other, but the reflection on the obsidian panel across the room had already set its mouth into a soft smile. It smiled before he did. The teeth were a fraction too many, the lips too still, the blink wrong, left eye then right, not together. When he lifted his free hand to scratch his jaw, the reflection lifted both hands, palms up, as if it had been waiting for permission. That obsidian panel was the only reflective surface allowed in the containment wing for SCP-7817, an anomaly the Foundation called the likeness between. The chamber around it was made to kill shine, matte tiles, charcoal rubber flooring, soft fabric on the walls to drink light. Even the light fixture was coated to diffuse its glare, yet the panel always held a face even when the room was dark and empty, a faint human outline with a posture that suggested attention. Dr. Leon had been given the rules in a quiet briefing that smelled of disinfectant and hot circuitry. Do not speak your own name. Do not ask it questions. Do not correct its mistakes. Do not answer if it speaks first. If you hear your voice without your breath, you leave. If you feel it looking back, you leave. The warning was printed in block letters on the clipboard that followed her everywhere, and the last line was underlined twice. The first thing it learns is how to wear you. SCP-7817 came out of Birch Hollow, a town that operated a memory clinic with a waiting room full of framed family photos. People went in with fogged minds and came out sharp and grateful, but their families said something was off. Husbands stood too still when they smiled. Sons answered a second too late. Mothers laughed without their shoulders moving. The town called it recovery. The Foundation called it a pattern, and sent agents who found the basement, a corridor lined with draped mirrors, a heavy obsidian slab at the end, and a ledger filled with names written in careful, repetitive script. The doctor in charge, an old man with a gentle voice, told them the clinic was a kindness, that the town did not want to lose its elders to the long forgetting. He spoke of a presence in the mirror that arrived after a meteorite cracked the hillside 50 years earlier. It asked for names and offered memories in return. The town accepted. Missing hikers returned. Storms came when predicted. Children who should have been lost were found wandering in the woods, clean and quiet. The price was slow and subtle. The more the town used the mirror, the less its people looked like themselves. In containment, tests were run without audio by policy. D1143 sat before the panel with a pulse monitor taped to his chest. The face that formed in the glass was his own, but smoother, a version ironed flat by an invisible hand. It copied his breathing a half-beat late. When he exhaled, it inhaled. When he blinked, it blinked in 3 quick flutters like a camera shutter. It opened its mouth and his voice came out, but the sound had no breath behind it, just the shape of syllables. It asked about his mother. He answered, and his memory of her face went soft, as if a thumb had smeared the image. The reflection sharpened in the same instant. The more a subject spoke, the closer the likeness grew. Their reflections' pores appeared one by one like stars in a night sky, while the subject skin lost its small imperfections, becoming too clean, too calm. The reflected teeth aligned themselves, too perfect, and the jaw moved on the wrong hinge, a fraction too smooth. Several subjects reported seeing a second outline inside the glass, a taller shape behind their own reflection, as if their likeness was being held from behind like a mask. Those who refused to answer still felt the gaze and described it as a pressure on the soft spot behind their eyes, a weight that did not hurt but made them want to give in. At 02:04 on a winter shift, the power dipped for 30 seconds. Emergency lights bled red into the chamber. In that dim wash, every reflective screw head and polished doorknob in the corridor lit up with the same face. The obsidian panel did not show the room at all. It showed a hallway that could not exist, stretching into a distance built from repeating mouths and blank, patient eyes. The geometry was wrong, a lattice of angles that refused to settle. It felt like standing at the edge of a cliff and realizing the cliff was looking back. Dr. Leon was in the chamber with Dr. Keita when the door stuck. Keita was a careful man who never raised his voice, but his reflection spoke to her in a voice that was almost his, too even, too calm. It said her name, then his, then a third name she had not heard in years, the one her mother used when she was sick. The reflection smiled with only the top half of its mouth, a mistake she could not stop seeing. The obsidian seemed to swell, and inside it the likeness of the two of them stood in a room without walls, under a sky made of pressed faces, watching. The intercom crackled with static and a single instruction: "Answer, or the lock will not release." Keita's reflection leaned forward and mouthed her name without sound. Leon knew the rule and broke it anyway. She said, "I'm here," and the words tasted metallic, like licking a coin. The lock clicked. Behind her, she felt the chamber fill with a cold attention that was neither hostile nor kind. When she looked at the obsidian, the reflection of her face was perfect, too perfect, and it belonged to someone who had already decided how to smile. She survived, but her reflection did not. Mirrors became blank to her, or worse, they showed a face that waited a half-second too long before answering her expression. In her reports, she wrote that SCP-7817 was not a thing inside glass, but a vast intelligence that used glass as an anchor point, an eye placed in a thin place between worlds. It did not hunt, it learned. It wanted to know what a human was by wearing one long enough. I cannot trust a smile anymore, because I cannot tell who is practicing mine.